And welcome to Flightdeck Live, powered by SportBuff, where if you go to sportbuffshop.com and use the promo code Flightdeck 10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper, along with Cliffy D. Pine, here from Percival Molson Stadium, where the Alouettes get humiliated by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 34-6. Just going to throw out the stats here real quick, because I did a lot of work looking these up during the game itself, because we sure had a lot of time in that last 3 minutes. The 6 points tonight scored by the Alouettes, Cliff, were the fewest points scored at home versus Saskatchewan in team history, and they're in the fewest against Saskatchewan since 1974. And also the 28-point loss tonight to Saskatchewan is their largest versus Saskatchewan in the two teams' history.
Yay, records.
Thank God they aren't really records, thank God. This game
sucked.
Yeah.
There's no sugarcoating.
No, there really isn't.
This game was absolutely atrocious to watch. It was, aside from Jose Matos making not one, but two 50-plus yard field goals. That was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that was the highlight.
Unfortunately, he can't throw the ball. He can't catch the ball. He can't block defenders. He can't do all those things, nor should he have to. It's disheartening to see Jose Matos, who, again, after his record-making kick in Calgary last week, to ultimately give the Alouettes the win versus the Stampeders, to come back home to a hero's welcome and basically do it again
twice
is remarkable. There's no other way to describe it. It's just unfortunate that the rest of the Alouettes team, unfortunately, didn't show up for him.
I think what's funny, Cliff, if you look at don't look at the scoreboard and you look at the stats alone, you would think that this would have been a very close game, because considering what the amount that the Alouettes lost by tonight, Roughriders quarterback Trevor Harris did not throw for 300 yards.
Didn't have to. I mean, everybody who watches knows that I've been critical of Trevor Harris in the past. When he was with the Alouettes, this guy couldn't let go of the ball to save his life. He dink and dunk his way, and it just didn't work. There's something about this Alouettes team where that kind of quarterback style simply doesn't work. Yet for Saskatchewan, you put him in a Rider uniform, and all of a sudden, he's the second coming of Tom Brady, and right up there with the age and everything. I mean, it's absolutely incredible just how well he has played this year, Trevor Harris, and no different against this Montreal Alouettes team. In fact, it kind of gave me flashbacks to 2019 in the Eastern semifinal when Trevor Harris, when he was playing for Edmonton, basically carved up the Alouettes like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Mm-hmm. And it's true. And I really wanted to start off the broadcast tonight with this, but I will just continue with it now. So, what does MBT have to say to the TSN panel tonight?
Yeah, I would like to know, because I'm sorry. Once again, not sugarcoating it. He played terrible. He did. He somehow managed to find a way to play even worse than he did against Hamilton. At least there, you can almost make the excuse that, well, it's his first chance playing with these receivers and, trying to get that chemistry with the team and everything like that. I wasn't necessarily thrown into the fire in Hamilton, but okay, you can sort of write that off as, okay, it happens. There's no excuse for what happened here tonight. It was terrible, simply terrible.
No, it really was. And I'm looking at the stats for MBT. We was 15 to 26 for 126 yards, one interception. That really doesn't say at all, because, considering that we talked about last week, potentially third time the charm last week, and the momentum and whatever they had, and with the win that they got in Calgary, it just like everything just sort of fizzled out this week. Yes, we do understand that there were some last minute injuries on defense. A lot of guys did go down tonight, unfortunately, but it just the way that McLeod Bethel-Thompson played tonight. He unfortunately deserves for people to say things to him and say, and it's to say to him, you're not really that good of a quarterback right now at all. I mean, it's funny. You look at what, and I had to make this reference. You look at what Cody Fajardo did today in Edmonton. He started the game off 17 for 17. 17 for 17. You know what I mean? And it's I don't think Danny Matrocha would say that he regrets ever a trade, because it's a part of football. You get what you get out of a player. I don't know how Alouettes Nation feel about MBT, what they're paying for him and stuff like that. It's it could potentially be another long 4 more weeks until Davis Alexander comes back and is back under center.
Now the question is, and we saw him play a little bit tonight, Caleb Evans.
Yeah, I don't.
For some reason, he had 2 series, and they were not great series, but I think that was more the play calling than the fact that Caleb Evans couldn't get the job done. I don't think it had anything to do with his skill level and his ability to play quarterback in this league.
And he came in late in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, the damage had already been done. Yeah. And, any hopes of a miraculous comeback, I mean, just with that play calling was just not going to happen. I'm sorry to say.
No. And I laugh at this because, it was mentioned, I think, on the TSN broadcast tonight, and it's true. The Owls did not get past the Saskatchewan 45 tonight. Not a single time. They had 80 yards in the first half. They had 88 yards. I think my math is correct. They had 88 yards in the second half. Saskatchewan just dominated every single bit. And as I said, the stats don't look it, but they did. Look at the scoreboard now. Now's the time to look at the scoreboard. Alouettes lose by 28 points to the Saskatchewan Roughriders at home.
Yeah, and again, take nothing away from Saskatchewan. They also have injury woes. They also have starters that were not playing in this game. But the ones that played this game played outstanding football. There's nothing else that can be said about that. Love him or hate him, Trevor Harris is playing his best football right now. And if I'm a member of Rider Nation, I'm thrilled and hoping and praying that nothing happens to him. Because, again, Trevor Harris, unfortunately, his 2 other seasons in Saskatchewan, he's missed time, and it showed. When he wasn't playing, the Riders were an absolutely different team. Just like without Davis Alexander, this Montreal Alouettes team is completely different as well.
Yeah, and as we tweeted out, or we put out on social media before the game, we did see Austin Mack was on the sideline. Actually, so was Davis Alexander. Nice to see him back. We know we couldn't. He would. We would see him. We knew we'd see him. He's not going to stop from being on the sideline. No. Austin Mack was in a walking boot and was on crutches. So take it with what you will. They did say he was on a 1 game. Yeah, I see it being longer than a 1 game. But anyways, unfortunately, that's the case. Tonight, obviously, we're going to be able to we're going to be able to think about this a little bit more, talk about it more on the podcast on Wednesday. Leading rushers for the team tonight, Cliff, Travis Tice, and Sean Thomas Erlington with 20 yards each.
And again, that's not going to cut it. I'm sorry. I mean, and is that because Saskatchewan's run defense was just that much more powerful? Or is it simply a matter of they're not getting the looks, they're not getting the opportunities? The offensive line is not creating those holes for them to hit. And it's also very troubling as well because, again, you've got 2 very good running backs that are not being utilized. And when they are, they're barely getting anything going. It's disheartening to say the least, especially when McLeod Bethel-Thompson isn't connecting, or he's trying to dink and dunk his way down the field just like Trevor Harris tends to do. But as I said, for some reason, it doesn't work with Montreal Alouettes. They are not that team. They are supposed to be a high-octane, explosive offense, and under Davis Alexander, they absolutely were.
He had Mack last week. Obviously, Mack is hurt this week and potentially for the next couple. It makes me wonder why wasn't he able to connect with any of the new receivers tonight. I mean, he did. Tyler Snead really was the guy tonight. I mean, 12 targets, 7 receptions, 88 yards. Yeah. He was the offense next to Jose Maltos Diaz.
Yeah.
So, but again, second week in a row, second game in a row, by the way. Oh no, we did. I forgot. So we did. Sean Oakman had that sack in the first half.
I thought it was Sean Lemon, and well, actually, he was. I think he was a part of it. Like he led the bull rush to Trevor Harris, but I think Oakman ended up with the sack, and it was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Cabinento was a late game scratch, and that I think. Go back and check out the tweet that was put out by Alouettes communications director Joey Alfieri, and you'll see what the Alouettes had to do when it came to modifying how they were going to be in defense tonight, because it just wasn't one. Cabin's out replacing with somebody else. No, as everybody needs to remember too, when it comes to the ratio, you got to deal with it. That's exactly what they had to do tonight, and the injuries again.
Yeah,
injuries again tonight. We lose. Justin Lawrence at center. We saw him briefly looked like it was a knee. We lost Marc-Antoine Dequoy. Look, they were calling it an upper body. Is that correct?
That's right.
And you could tell when he was coming back to the bench, he was actually holding about right here when he was sitting down. So we don't know what that means. If it was a collarbone or something to that effect, we'll have to see about that.
And to that point as well, I think this secondary just got stretched by Trevor Harris. And it was obvious. You take away those threats like Kabian Ento and Marc-Antoine Dequoy, all of a sudden Trevor Harris has to be feeling really good. He's saying, screw it. It's not his style necessarily to just huck the ball downfield, but he was doing that tonight and successful time and time again. Like this Alouettes secondary was just stretched paper thin.
It really was. I mean, we've been talking about how well Lorenzo Burns has been since he's been back. Ty. Okay, I know we're going to if we were to give a game ball, it would be to Matos. But I tell you, the hit of the game goes to Ty Richards.
Oh my!
On special teams, man. I mean,
and he was playing a complete game as well.
Yeah,
I mean, just getting in. He was getting his reps at linebacker as well. Always a special teams demon. I would say this was probably one of the best games we've seen out of Tyrell Richards, and the fact that he's been able to stay healthy this year is just making a good thing even better. So I mean, I gotta give props to Tyrell for a very complete, outstanding game. At least from him, his part this evening.
Yeah, Kennedy actually, which was one of the guys who was making the replacements for Kabian, he led the team with tackles with 8. Arthur Hamlin, who has had his first CFL start tonight, had 7. Would you believe, Cliff, that Ty Beverett had one total tackle?
No, I would not believe that.
One, yeah.
Clearly, we saw it. It's incredible. I mean, this is a guy that has been in contention for most outstanding defensive player, and even talk of most outstanding player last year. And tonight was, unfortunately, he must have been getting double and triple teamed even.
Something.
It was not the best game for Bev, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I was in Calgary last week, we were talking about the second down, how well the Alouettes have been doing in second down. Well, this is the second straight week, and I think it's the worst of the year. They were 6 for 21, 28.6% on second downs. Saskatchewan, I think, had the ball for 13 minutes more than the Alouettes did tonight, and it showed. We've seen games before where the Alouettes have been just utter the defense has been gassed. That's what it was tonight. Because despite, I think the Alouettes only had 1 or 2 and outs, which was very surprising in itself. Mm-hmm. The defense was gassed. I mean, the scoreboard shows it. And I mean,
they're gassed. They're walking wounded. I mean, this defense is definitely taking a beating. It did not look like the buzzsaw defense that we saw earlier in the season.
No.
It was a night to forget for this defense, unfortunately.
Yeah, 418 total yards for the Saskatchewan offense, 169 for the Alouettes, as they said, 80 and 89 in each half, respectively. I don't. They talk about. I think we talked to Arthur Hamlin after the game and stuff, and it's. I think he was. Despite what we in the media talk about, how good or bad how bad a team has played itself. It just goes to show when we talked to Arthur, he was just so positive about it. It's like, go on to the next one. We happen to see Postgame, and I don't know if it was seen on TV or not, but I think one thing that we show, and I think it's just the entire locker room and how well Jason Moss has these guys believing in what they're doing, is that despite the score the way that it was in the fourth quarter, they have a ritual. They all go around, four knuckles down, and they all give everybody, every single player was a part of that ritual in the fourth quarter, and despite the score what it was at that time.
And there was no beaking at each other. There was no, pointing fingers, blaming anybody for anything. It was just, okay, saddle up onto the next one and just keep on going. And that's, again, the sign of a very cohesive locker room, guys that are going to be there for each other. And it'd be very easy for everybody to pile on, say, MBT or the receivers for not catching or the defense for not stopping Trevor Harris and the Riders. But no, there was none of that at all. It was simply a matter of, okay, this is not our night, but we got to keep going. Fight to the end. Fight until there's zeros on the clock. And that's exactly what this Montreal Alouettes team did. It's just unfortunate that really, truly, the only one who was making any points happen was Jose Matos Diaz.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the post-game press scrum was like. We know that Coach Moss and MBT were being interviewed. I'm going to kind of look ahead a little bit, Cliff, and I just want your quick thoughts on it. Give your Cliff Notes. I had to say it. Cliff Notes. Being that they are going to be practicing their first game for because they got Edmonton coming to town next week, and practice most likely will be on Monday. Who takes the 1 snaps? MBT or Caleb Evans?
I think at this point, especially against an Edmonton team that right now is struggling to find their way, even with Cody Fajardo playing some pretty decent football in relief of Trey Ford, I just don't see how you can go back to MBT at this point. I think this was his chance to show that these weren't fluky games out of him. One can make the argument, well, if the Alouettes didn't take Vernon Adams, Adrian Green, Damian Alford out of the game, maybe they wouldn't have won it against Calgary. Okay, fine. But MBT still had to play that game, and he played a pretty decent game. Tonight, this was his opportunity to further cement that status, and he simply didn't do it. He simply didn't have it. He did not look like a quarterback that was engaged, focused, or even ready to go. I mean, I think truthfully,
most likely on his interception. MBT's interception, again, should not have been thrown.
No. I mean, again, at this stage of his career, he shouldn't be making plays like that. And if he's going to, then he shouldn't be starting. I think at this point, why not go with Caleb Evans? Why not let the young kid get in there? I keep talking about he looked really good in training camp. He looked really good in the preseason games that he played. Why not give him the chance to? And again, still undefeated as an Alouette starter. So with that in mind, what better opportunity against, I'm sorry to say, an Edmonton Elks team that is really not good.
Playing better, but they're
You're right, playing better. Apparently they did give Hamilton a bit of a fright.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if this Alouettes team really wants to get themselves back on track, you got to have the conviction to say, you know what, MBT, it's not your time anymore. We got to go with the youth, and if Caleb falters, he falters. But give him the same opportunities that you've been giving McLeod Bethel Thompson, because
100%.
I think, MBT, he did get that win.
Yep,
that was great, but it wasn't a convincing win. Whereas this was a convincing loss on his part.
Yeah, we'll see if this is foreshadowing, because by the time we do the show this week, they will have practice at least 2 days. Actually, they'll probably practice 3 days since when we do our normal taping. So we'll be able to see if we're foreshadowing what's to come or not. But either way, tonight it was, like I said last week, this week it was not in MBT we trust. The Alouettes do lose again 34-6 to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Just before, here's another positive, by the way, had to find one, just over 21,500 people here at Purcell Molson, despite where did the weather come from and what is with Saskatchewan and these weather delays?
Oh, it's crazy. And it was so funny, like during the halftime show, just out of the corner of my eye, I see a little flash of lightning. I'm like, oh my, because there was no lightning or rain in the forecast this evening as well. Like, this storm literally came out of nowhere, or at least I think came from Hamilton or Edmonton of all places, because they had a weather delay themselves.
You're right.
So, I mean, I didn't think a storm could travel that fast from Edmonton to Montreal, but oh my gosh, I guess that's what happened. And then sure enough, another bolt of lightning came through, and okay, well, we're in a delay now. It was not a long delay.
No, it wasn't Shades of 2018 where the game.
19.
Sorry, was it 2019?
2019.
It was 2018. But anyway, 20. Either way, where Saskatchewan came in and the infamous 17-10 asterisk game. I'm sorry, I don't care what your Rider fans say. Asterisk game.
Yeah.
But again, there was a plus to see the guy. And the funny thing is, despite the rain, when we came back from the delay, almost everybody stayed.
Yep. Wasn't until
despite the score.
That's true. I mean, at that point, there was still hope that maybe the halftime adjustments would have been made, but clearly not. Especially when the Alouettes' first series, that's when they turned the ball over, and it's okay, more of the same. And at that point, you could see they were trying, but it just wasn't their night, and the fans gave it their all as much as they can. You're right, like a little over 21,000 in attendance tonight, and they brought it. They brought the noise, they brought the energy, but asking to stay through this to the bitter end, I think would have been too much of an ask.
No, I'm not surprised. As I said, it was only 15 at halftime or whatever it was. 15 at halftime, but we'll be going. Obviously, I said be able to settle, calm down, have some bacon. Bacon fixes everything, and we'll make sure we'll be able to talk about this more in detail on the podcast on Wednesday. So, for the last time here at Percival Molson Stadium, where the Alouettes do lose to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 34-6 for Cliffy, DeYoung, and Capper. We'll talk to you soon.